On this episode of Bread to Build, we've got my friend Aaron Witt on the podcast, the founder of BuildWitt, a company that's gone from snapping photos of dozers on Instagram to building one of the most influential brands and has evolved into a full-fledged learning management software built for infrastructure contractors. What's wild about Aaron is he didn't grow up in construction, yet he's become one of the most obsessed people in the industry, more than people born into it. If you followed his journey over the few years, you know he's taken more swings, has killed more ideas, iterated more times, and has stayed committed to this industry longer than almost anyone out there. When Aaron and I first connected several years back, both of us were just two dudes running Instagram pages with no long-term vision of building payroll or learning management software for contractors. There was no talk of big visions, no dirt world summits, just two people who love the industry. Fast forward a few years, our journeys somehow ran in parallel, both evolving from content to companies, both going all in on building tools for contractors, both getting punched in the face by entrepreneurship, and both stubborn enough to keep coming back for more. And that's what I love about Aaron. In this conversation, we dig into all of it: the iterations, the failures, pivots, obsession with the industry, and what it really takes to stay in the arena, and why Aaron believes the future of infrastructure depends on the next generation of leaders rising up. We had a ton of fun on this episode, and we hope you also enjoy it. Let's dig in. Today. Dude, I had a ton of fun coming out to Nashville, hopping on the podcast. That's been like the first time in a while that I've sat in front. It's a totally different experience. Like
Yeah.
your little studio, Aaron. I like hopped on the plane coming back home. I'm like, oh my God, I want a podcast studio. I want to bring some people in. It's like this whole logistic kind of thing, but that was a ton of fun.
It's a lot of fun. I started it in 2020. I did it remote for a while. Then I started to
Mm.
do it a little bit more in person. Um, it became kind of like a tool for our business. And so it, which made it not as fun, I think, in 2023 for me.
Mm.
And then, or maybe 24. And then this year I was like, hey, I'm just going to have people that I want to have on, and I'm not going to do it
Mm.
without spending time with them outside of the podcast, having dinner, lunch, breakfast.
Yeah.
If they bring their spouse in town, meet their spouse. And for me, it's just been an absolute blast. I've really enjoyed it. We travel to some, so I'll do
Hmm.
some
Mm.
trips to make a podcast work with somebody that can't travel as easily. But it's just been I've just had so much fun with it because I get to spend hours with somebody that I'm looking forward to spending hours with, and there's nothing
Yeah.
else going on. There's no calls, there's no phones. It's just
Hmm.
me shooting the poop with somebody else.
And that's one thing that I loved about it too, is like you and I remember specifically like our first phone call back in, I think it was right around 2020, because I had moved up to Seattle, Washington for a little bit. I kind of got the hell out of Dodge when COVID hit during San Francisco. And I remember like one of our first phone calls, we were just chatting of like, yeah, we're just doing some Instagram stuff and we'll see what it turns into. And then the thing that you and I were kind of joking about at dinner the night before was like, yeah, we had like our check-ins here and there, and then it was just like, all right, like maybe I'll talk to you down the line and we'll see kind of where it goes. And it's just been like really interesting kind of seeing both, I guess both of each other's journey kind of like evolve. Because I think if you were to take us back in 2020, 2021, I don't think you and I really would have imagined that it would evolve into this or have multiple chapters. I don't think any
No.
of it could have been predicted at that point.
No, but I remember when I talked to you, it was like, oh, I think this guy's gonna do something. Like,
Oh
I don't know
yeah,
what, but it was like,
yeah.
yeah, I think he's gonna do something. Like,
Yeah.
I don't see why not. And hopefully people have felt the same about me.
Yeah.
But regardless of what they feel, I am gonna do something someday. I'm
Yeah.
still working on it.
And that's the thing that I pointed out, even when you and I were chatting on your podcast, is I'm sure you've seen this time and time again. And it's one thing that I've really, really admired about you is like you didn't necessarily come from the industry, but you've developed like a really strong obsession and passion around it. And I'm sure you've seen this time and time again, where it's like people enter an industry, they want to like modernize things, blah, blah, blah. But it's just like they don't really last in the industry that long. They don't really truly have a love for the game or the industry that they're in. And you've went through multiple evolutions of what you're kind of doing over the last few years, and you've just really stuck in your lane of, even like claiming the whole two words dirt world, right?
Yeah.
And it's just like that's one thing that I've really admired about you is you see a lot of entrepreneurs kind of just drop because they're on doing the next shiny thing, and you've really just stuck at it and you keep evolving the brand and what you guys are doing.
Yeah, I can't necessarily, and there's multiple ways to go about it. I can't relate to somebody that is like, I want to start a business and then tries to find where to start a business.
Hmm.
It's like I didn't pick the dirt world. The dirt world picked me. And I wanted to be a part of the dirt world. I wanted to be an earth moving contractor.
Mm.
But the best way I can explain it is as you start walking the path and day by day staying on the path, more and more reveals itself. And um, I guess one part, I've had one part courage, one part stupidity to keep walking the path
I
as
think you have
time's
to
gone
have
on.
both when you start.
Yeah,
I think you gotta have both.
yeah, it's a 1-to-1 ratio I've found, or
Yeah.
at least that's worked for me. But yeah, I love it. And I tell people there's 100 things that I can fairly be criticized for, but the one thing that I can't be criticized over is that like it's like I've been consistent. I have been married to this cause since day one, and I am more married to it than ever before. And
Hmm.
if I wasn't all in, I wouldn't be here. I would have washed out so long ago. So it's like you need that to just endure.
Hmm.
And if those who endure are those that are committed because there's a lot of reasons along the way to throw in the towel and a lot of good reasons to throw in the towel.
Yeah, 100%. By the way, do you still have the skid steer?
No, I sold that. We sold it maybe a few years ago now because it was fun, but we weren't using it for anything. And we we graduated from like the point in business where you're just spending money to be dumb and show off to like, oh, we really need to be in business, which means our money needs to work for us. And if
Hmm.
money is sitting there not doing something, it's got to go, or something is sitting there. And that was one of those things. It's like, this isn't getting us any benefit anymore. We've got to get it in the bin.
I,
I
I
got
it,
I got
it
a
it had
question.
the camo print, right? Or was it camo or was it cow
Cow,
print? It
It
was
was
cow.
cow. Yeah, it was
Okay.
cow.
cow print. Yep.
Yeah. So you said something I wanna ask about. So with the latest iteration, what would you define this as today?
Well, our mission is to build the dirt world's next generation. The dirt
Hmm.
world is critical infrastructure, energy, natural resources. It's kind of like the foundation of modern society. If you think food, water,
Yeah.
shelter, you need the dirt
Hmm.
world to make that happen. Roads, bridges, pipelines, power lines, sewers, etc. Um, the workforce is uncertain currently. There is this question mark hanging over the dirt world, and if there's a question mark over the dirt world, there's a question mark over the future,
Yeah.
because there is no future without infrastructure. And so we need to figure this out. It's not like a nice to have. It's we've got to figure this out. And we're building a business to help the industry figure it out through right now training and development. So the main product is called BuildWitt Improve. It's a daily training and development software, video based, built for the people out in the field doing the work. And it's not just to make them better workers, but it's to make them better people, allow them to communicate more effectively, use their money more effectively, treat their bodies better. And so that's the primary business. And then the other side of the business is what we call influence. That's building awareness for the dirt world and building awareness for BuildWitt, the brand. And that's when we have the Area Dirt World Summit, our annual leadership event for the industry that we just had 2 weeks ago in Dallas with nearly 1,400 leaders there, which was awesome. And then it's what I do with the podcast, with YouTube, with social media, running around the world, visiting different construction and mining operations.
Heath, the one thing that Aaron and I were chatting about when I hopped on his podcast is Aaron just said something that kind of really resonated. I even brought your name up because you guys do it over at KNL. But one thing that I actually really admire of what you're doing, Aaron, for the LMS learning management system is like the micro learnings. I think that is very fit to how people consume content today. So I think it's like really on par. But two, you talked about like how people are spending the money. Is that something that you guys are offering today, like out of the box into the system? Because the reason I brought this up is because Keith and what they're doing over at KNL. I mentioned this too, but they're a second chance employer, and that's one of their kind of things. And Keith can speak more on this, but they teach people better financial habits, and I think it's so key to this workforce and people
Yeah,
in
we
general, really.
oh yeah, we have all that, like how a mortgage works, for example. We have over 2,000 videos now
Wow,
on all sorts of stuff.
I didn't realize
From
guys had that much depth.
Yeah, no, it's like
Wow,
I don't realize how much depth we have, but we do it internally, and so I'm watching a video every day now, and it's like, man, I didn't know we had this. I didn't know we had that.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, what I'm most excited about is making people better people. I think the previous generation is frustrated with this generation because they're lacking the basics, but they weren't taught the basics. They weren't parented.
Mm,
And as employers, we have to do a lot of that, like how to introduce yourself, how a mortgage works. No one's taught them this, and we can sit here as employers and complain about it, or we can sit here and say, well, it is what it is. So if I don't teach them, they won't know, and it's in their best interest and then my best interest for them to know how to use money effectively. Because if they have financial problems outside of work, how valuable are they in work? And then now they're getting a divorce because they've had financial problems, and them and their spouse are getting into it. And then now again, how worthwhile are they now at work when they're getting a divorce or losing their house or whatever it is? And so, as an employer, you can treat these things as just these, oh, they're externalities. They're not my problem. All I need to worry about is quality, production, safety on the job today. That's all that matters. And it's like, no, that's not actually how the world works.
hmm
Yeah. So we do things like we realize that education for the whole person wasn't just a work thing. And when we started, when John Maxwell says people don't care what you know until they know how much you care.
Mm,
And our vision is that when you leave here, whether you're a retiring or it's just a stepping stone, that you're going to be a better person for the world. Which means we teach things like budgeting, like what you were talking about. A lot of guys are like, I need more money. No, you don't need more money. You just can't afford to do $1,000 a month of tattoos, right?
Sure.
Like like they're like, hey, I need some extra hours, but I also need Thursday off because I got this tat appointment. And I'm like, I'm sorry, what? Help
yeah.
me understand. Like, do you not see how these two things are connected? And when we started engaging, helping them, it's like the light started showing up and they all of a sudden understood, not just comprehended. Like it was like something that now they connected the dots that, oh, if I'm responsible, my marriage is better. If my marriage is better, my kids are better. If my kids are better, my family's more willing to be supportive. And we figured out that like you're right. Kids don't know. And there's this disconnect between the information and understanding and comprehension that we as employers are having to do. Here's one that I don't know if you know. Uh, we have 70+% of our employees don't have dads.
Wow.
70+%. So, oh, this is going to go hyper one way. The statistic between violent events in your life and having a dad is almost exactly correlated.
Hmm.
If you have a father, you are 70% less likely to have a violent event in your life.
Sure. Yeah, but they didn't have a dad growing up. And it's like,
Yeah.
does that just make them not qualified for life then? Like, do you just write that individual off? Or like, whose job is it to take that individual and lift them up? Well, isn't it the employer's
I think it's
opportunity and job?
I think there's a willingness. Like you have to find people who are willing to be coached and willing,
Yes.
like you have to find that's the very first prerequisite. And then if you really want to change, I guess you called it like there's an employment crisis. Like there's this generational gap that people are trying to solve. And the more you solve the person's problems, the more likely they are to be loyal and stay. And here's the important thing, attract others,
Yeah.
right? Like if they people say like one of our guys that's our I talk about this guy all the time. Like he quit. I've talked him out of quitting more times than anybody that I've ever done my whole life. But he now runs a paving crew. He runs a eight-figure paving crew. And if you would have told me 7 years ago when he showed up that he'd be the guy that I say, here's all the work orders, go do the work, I'd have bet every ounce of money that I've ever had that that was not going to happen. But he now talks about what this organization has done and taught him. And when people are him, like the inverse is true. Like he's like, hey man, if you quit, you don't get a say in how people tell the narrative. So I'm just letting you know that if you do, which you totally can do, other people are going to tell the story for you because you're not here. So you choose.
Yeah, and that's what loyalty looks like
Yeah.
nowadays is because you've poured so much into this individual, you've built that loyalty. Like I think
Yeah.
a lot of employers are still on the antiquated system though that loyalty because I give you a paycheck every week, you are then loyal to
Mm,
me. And it's like that's just not how the world works anymore. That's not how
no.
the market works. It's
Mhm.
you need to invest in me, employer into an individual before me individual is going to be loyal to you because I've probably been screwed by 8 other employers. And so I am very jaded in trusting an employer or any kind of loyalty whatsoever. And so I think again, it's like from a leadership standpoint, employment standpoint, you've got to go first. You've got to pour into people, even
Mm,
just as an individual. I think that's just best practice in life. Like, go first, pour into
Mhm.
people. Worst case scenario, they don't reciprocate, but you're not going to feel bad about it. You're not going to be like,
yeah.
man, I feel terrible at trying my best, or man, I feel just so terrible at like really trying to do the right thing. Like, I think that's just like good human behavior and it serves you before it serves others.
I think you bring up such a good point about going first. Um, I mean, we've heard it time and time again where it's like, guy gets offered a job down the street for two, $3 extra more an hour. And that's really kind of how most people are operating today of not providing a real true culture for the workforce. And I think that's also why we see so much turnover. And Keith, I would love for you to kind of lean into this, but what are those typical conversations where you talk them out of it or they're, thinking or just spiraling and they realize that you're the best organization for them personally and professionally? What are those typical patterns that you see?
So that a couple of them are, I don't know, like I would call it the get rich quick cycle. Like everybody jumps from like,
Mhm.
and I would say that employers have created this. And Aaron, I'd love your input. Like people have over the last 2 or 3 or 4 years been so quick to give raises to new hires, but not match the same raises with their
Mm,
internal current staff.
Yeah.
And so this culture
interesting.
of leaving to go get the money that you think you deserve was kind of perpetuated by the employers. But if you can get people to believe and understand that your life is going to be better here and we care about you here. And like we just went through this thing with our leadership team where we talked about, okay, so in the winter, we're a paving company. So in the winter, like hours get, they get sporadic. Well, what do we tell people about who gets the hours and why and how? Loyalty matters, longevity matters, skills matter, right? There's this hierarchy of skills, and if you're a welder, obviously there's more work for welding guys than there is for other people. Um, but the conversation is, hey, like let's talk about your skills and your input, and then let's figure out what you need, and let's see if there's a match there. If there isn't, I'm also going to be forward enough and forthright enough with you to say, hey, I think your need dollars and cents wise is probably too high to make this happen, right? And some of it goes back to budgeting. It could be like one guy said, hey, he shows up and brags on his Instagram that he bought $100 Kobe beef dinner from the store because his food stamps are $1,000 a month. And he goes, I got tons of money on my food stamps, but I don't have enough money to pay rent. And I was like, well, the messaging on Instagram tells everybody in your whole life that you got plenty of money. Nobody
Yeah.
knows that you bought them with food stamps, right? Like, so you got to make both of these things match and be true. And it really is. And I think this is what we've really been like dialing in is like, how do you be authentically you? And how is it like, where do you dig into the hard conversations? right? Hey, my wife doesn't like me. Why? Why is what's happening at home? Well, I don't know. She just gets angry at me and doesn't. And I'm like, do you guys have open and honest dialogue? Or "Hey, no, I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to tell her that I want something. Okay, well let's talk about that. Like,
Hmm.
and to a certain extent, you kind of have to be their friend first, right? And it's weird because that antiquated system that you were talking about, Aaron, like you don't be friends with employees,
Yeah.
but you have to be friendly enough to have a conversation and engage them in a way that makes them feel cared for, where they're safe enough to open up. And it's like a six of one, half dozen the other. You have to give and take on both sides. But to your point, you got to go first. We couldn't be a second chance employer without me being
Hmm.
so open and vocal about all the drugs, all the arrests, all
Hmm.
the bankruptcies, and tearing my life down. Because when we go, like the social proofing of my story, when people come in here, I'm like, hey, just so you know, I've got 20 cups right there, UAs. And if I ask you to take one and you say, hey, will you take one with me? I'm down, bro. Like right now.
Sure.
Because I don't ask you to do things I'm not willing to do.
Hmm.
But that I was just talking to somebody about this earlier today. I've been thinking a lot about how do we level the industry up? And it starts with leadership. It starts with whoever is running the show at each company and them as an individual, not the company, not the culture, not the workforce. It starts with them. And you have to love love thyself as your neighbor. Like
Mhm.
you've got to love thyself first before you can love anybody else. And on the mental health and addiction conversation and physical health conversation, it's in the construction industry right now, it's very common to talk about mental health.
Hmm.
Let's talk about it. But it's
Yeah.
like that doesn't do anything. I'd almost rather people didn't talk about it if they weren't gonna be uh, if they weren't like gonna say anything of substance. And I think for you as a second chance employer to be able to instead of preach, just say, listen, I've been there, dude. I've been there. Like we've done this, and this is how I figured it out. Like that's a real conversation. But to have that conversation, how much work have you had to put in? How hard has that been? It's probably, if I had to guess, among the hardest things you've done in life,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
which is why you are where you are, but you had to do the work. And
Yeah.
and now you have that to hang your hat on. And I think it's like I'm trying to challenge leadership to do the work. Like if you want to go change your workforce, if you want to build a business that's worth anything into the future, it starts with the guy in the mirror. It starts with you, man. Like if you're frustrated, if you're upset, if you're not having fun, it starts with you. And until we can have that honest conversation with ourselves, nothing's going to change.
You wanna know, it's funny that this is coming up. So last Thursday we stopped work. Nobody in the field. I got what I call the production leads. There's 15 of us. So we did this exercise where we graded each other on our core values. And then as a part of that, if you said that somebody didn't follow them most of the time, you gave audible feedback in front of them to their face
Damn.
about why you didn't think they followed it. Um, High 90% of people would never sit through this exercise. My wife thought it was cruel and unusual punishment for the group. But when we walked into it, I said, we have two options to come out of here. I think we are a good group of leaders, but I think we could be great. And the only way that we can be great is if the complaints that I've got from each one of you about somebody else in this room is aired in a way that is healthy, that the construct of the conversation is predetermined, and that the outcome is also predetermined. So here's my promise. Today, you guys get to be honest with the people. I want you to do it with kindness and care, but you can be truthful. And here's the other promise I can give you. Nothing that's said in here leaves this room and nobody loses their job over it.
Hmm.
So I take most of the anxiety out of that. And then we talk about where we believe people are failing, or there's a lack of like alignment in those conversations. There was a lot of people who left who were like, I didn't know people didn't like me. I was unaware of the sentiment. But that was the same day. And I said, and the people that I talked to, I said, just dismiss anything that's said this afternoon. Like people's feelings are going to be hurt. This next week, we're going to talk about the commitment that we're making to the group. I
Mm.
commit to being better. And what does better look like to you? And then is there any conversations that need to happen one-on-one to kind of clear the air? Because I felt like there was a little friction, right? These are the things that people aren't taught to do. They're taught to just
Hmm.
smile, put on a facade, put on a face. They're never taught to really engage. But here's what I really believe. I really believe that when we teach people how to do that, when they're not emotionally engaged in the conference room behind me, that they're able to do that at home and
Yeah,
that they're able to do that with their kids. And that if you can do those things, it not only changes your life, it changes the entire makeup of your family tree.
that's high
Right?
level stuff.
It trickles down. And if you and this is what I tell them, please be bold and practice it here. Because if we can fight about it here in between coworkers where it's not like emotionally, something that we have to take home in our interpersonal relationships, you have a chance of changing forever with your kids,
That's
with your
really good.
wife,
Yeah. Hmm.
I will
right?
say I learned so much more about Keith every time that we do a podcast. And it's like, and it is just like, I don't know, that's just true leadership. It's just be like open, vulnerable. And like, we've all seen this. I mean, me growing up in the industry, I mean, it was always like, leave your problems at home. Nobody wants to hear complaints. Just get your work done and leave. And that doesn't really foster a culture of
Yeah,
personal growth, or it's not really true camaraderie or relationships. And of course, it's going to be the revolving door that most people experience, where it's
yeah,
just a warm body on the site, and that's all it ever is for probably a lot of employers, which is just the unfortunate truth.
yeah. It's so there's a I think that what I've learned through the self discovery process is that we all have value, and I want to be the one to tell my bad stories, right? I want to be the one to be the narrator of my past. You can only do that if you're ahead of it.
Hmm.
Right? And what I tell these guys is like when and all three people on the screen right here, like if you look in the mirror, you don't typically look at yourself and take a great inventory of all your positive attributes. Like when you look in the mirror, I wish I was taller, faster, skinnier, more muscular, whatever it is, right? Like I wish I still had hair. Like we take the inventory, but it's almost always to the negative side.
Mhm.
We forget the value that we have. And sometimes you need other people around you to remind you of that. But most of the time, you need to realize that if you engage in a way that's authentic, you have the chance to create this ripple effect without getting all woo-woo that really challenges and changes the world, right?
Yeah. Well, and just stand out. I
Yeah.
even the ability to authentically speak is just it's under more threat today than ever before, especially in business. It's incredible to me how like these high-ranking individuals in business, how poorly they speak and how unable they are to say anything original, anything of value, anything with any kind of emotion within it whatsoever. They can't do it.
Yeah.
And when you do it, and people know, like, intent has a smell, people know if it is genuine or not. It's at least for the most part, people can tell. Um, you have that upside, especially from an employment standpoint. Like people want that. People want to be around authentic people. And if you can do that, you will attract a higher quality of individual, as I
Mhm.
found, and you will attract authentic people. Go figure. And so for me, like the authenticity thing, it's just like it's a great business strategy, if nothing else. It's just a great life strategy to be authentic because who doesn't want to be around that? And it's so rare. It's incredible how hard it is to find.
Yeah.
You guys have leaned into that, even with BuildWitt and you too, Aaron. Like I'm sure you've never gotten criticized on YouTube or anything, right?
Nah, I think it's hilarious. The YouTube comments are the funniest.
But
Yeah.
I think it's a great strategy for attracting and even repelling people that don't need to be anywhere near your organization because
Yeah,
it'll
but
spread
but
like
like but also like when you really are you and you really are authentic, the comments don't have a whole lot of weight or
Mm-mm.
power. Like
Mm-mm.
very rarely will one really bother me. And when something bothers me, it's more so an indication of like, why is this bothering me? Like what's there? What are they true? Like, is that the truth? And I just don't want to acknowledge it, or like there's something more there. But when you're doing the work, when you're doing your best, when you're you, there's not a whole lot people can say that'll really get you. Like it's just very like the amount of comments I get online, it's quite a few, quite a lot. But I'm not like, the people that are sitting around talking about haters, I'm like,
Yeah.
they need to probably do a little bit more work. Like, I don't know of anybody that's really themselves, that's just hammering, that's
Hmm.
sitting around talking about their haters because it's just irrelevant. It doesn't actually matter. It doesn't register.
When they're talking about haters, that they're trying to convince themselves that they don't matter and
Yeah.
that the truth that they're talking about isn't actually true when it is, right? Like if they
Uh-huh.
were honest about what somebody's hating them on that bothers them so much, it's because there's just enough truth in there that it bothers them.
Yeah. Yeah, but
Yeah.
if you can't break through that ceiling, you're not going to get a whole lot for you're not going to get very
No.
far. You're not going to do anything significant. Like that's to me, like dealing with that is kind of table stakes to
Yeah.
even
100%.
get anywhere substantial. And then
Yeah.
and to deal with it sustainably, again, you've got to know who you are and you've got to
Yeah.
be acting in a consistent manner or else it's going to get you.
I want to come back to culture here in a second, but you started out through like multiple, and you've went through multiple kind of iterations of BuildWitt today, and I kind of want to just walk down memory lane a little bit. But for you, I mean, you started off on Instagram, but the one thing that I've always been curious to ask you is when did it transition from, okay, I love this industry, snapping photos and videos of all these inspiring job sites, meeting people. When did it transition from, okay, like this is not just enough to document it, I really need to do or contribute to this industry and do something about the workforce? When did that switch change for you? Or what was it like?
For me, it wasn't any moment. I try to people see me and they're like, wow, you've always known. And I try to wind it back to paint a little bit more realistic of a picture. Like, one, growing up, I was a kid that loved bulldozers. Okay, that's not uncommon.
Hmm.
Senior year of high school, I'm trying to figure out what to do with my life. A construction project pops up in my neighborhood. I think it's the coolest thing ever. I drive there, after school to watch what the heck's going on. And I figured, well, this is cool. If I get a job at the company, I'm going to be around it all the time. And I'll not only be around it, but I'm going to get paid to be around it. How cool is that? Like, it wasn't like, oh, I'm going to go change the world. It's like,
Hmm.
no, that cool, me want, there you go. Like it's not that hard. And so
Yeah.
I then started to pull at that thread. And as I got, that first year under my belt, I pulled a little further. Well, I want to go try something else. And that was the advice I was given was go, especially while you're young, especially in your 20s, like go try a bunch of stuff. You don't know what's right for you. You don't know what you're good at. You don't know what you're bad at. You don't know what you enjoy. You just don't know. And everybody's like, I don't know. And it's like, yes, you don't know. You're not supposed to know. Go try a bunch of stuff. Like you just until you try, you have no data. You're just guessing. You're walking
Mhm.
around in a dark room with no flashlight. And so that's what I did. I tried a bunch of stuff. I graduated from college. I got an engineering degree because the business owner I wanted to be like, he had an engineering degree. That was my all my logic for going to engineering school. There was no decision making matrix past that point. I wanted to be a contractor because that meant I would have my name on heavy equipment. Again, no huge big picture. It was just
Mhm.
total ego. Like it'd be awesome to have my name on equipment. How cool would that be? And as I just kept going down the path and as I gathered more data and as I learned more about the industry, had more conversations, more showed itself to me.
Mhm.
And I every accomplished person I've ever met, it's like it's a pretty similar path. You've just got to get going and in that constant forward motion, you you it'll be revealed to you
Hmm.
if you're looking for it, if you're listening. Um, and that's how it's been for me. It was never like I was the big ideas fairy bopped me on the head one day and I was like, wait a minute. I think I can go change the world. It was like, no, I'm a kid that loved bulldozers. I wanted to work around bulldozers. I got a job in it, and 126, here we are.
You and I were expressing some frustrations about entrepreneurship and let's just say some hustle porn out there. But I think this is like the part that frustrates me is because like the true entrepreneurship is just iteration cycles. And you've probably heard this too, but like the thing that you start out on is probably not the thing that you end up working on. I've found that to be very true about my personal journey. I mean, I've done a bunch of different projects and experiments that failed, or what we talked about on your podcast, I had to take it out to the shed and shoot it, which are all kind of like painful iteration cycles. But that's exactly why I wanted you to touch on this, because I think like people nowadays will open up their Instagram or their YouTube and be like, "Oh my God, Aaron's doing that. He had all the answers from the get-go. Like he probably just woke up one day and said he wanted to be a YouTuber and start a software company, and now he's off to the
Well,
races."
like a question I've gotten a lot recently is like, how do you get access to these operations? And it's kind of a smart ass response, but I'm like, well, I've just built relationships for a decade. And then
Yeah.
after you do it for a decade, a lot of doors are open. Like, go figure. So just go
Hmm.
dedicate yourself for 10 years and you too can do what I've done because I'm not special.
Yeah.
But I have been more dedicated at this one weird craft than anybody else. And now I have some of the benefits of that. But there's much more to go. It's people just don't want to hear that because it means like, oh, well, I have to go put in the work. I have to do the effort. It's like, if
Yep.
you want that, you don't have to. You don't have to put in the work. You don't have to put effort in. But if you want anything meaningful, yeah.
Hmm.
like,
Yeah.
like yes. If you want a meaningful career, yeah, you're gonna have to work. If you want a meaningful relationship, yeah, you're gonna have to work. And don't take my advice on that one because I haven't figured that one out yet. If you want worthwhile children, like, yeah, you've got to put in the work. It's anything. It's anything.
One thing.
So I heard you say two things, uh, frequency and consistency, right? The
Yeah.
frequency at which you do this and the consistency that you keep will many times dictate the ceiling, right? The high point that you have. I think that's important to point out to people. I I don't know if this is true for you, but any good business owner will become the person you made fun of in your 20s, right?
Yeah.
In our 20s, you wanted, or in your late teens, you were like, I want to be a guy that has a dozer. I want to be the guy that has the picture of the dozer. It could be the Ferrari, the Lamborghini, whatever. The older you get and the wiser you get, the lo- the more predictable and boring your life becomes, and ultimately the more successful, the more success you have, right? Like it's wild how those things correlate because early on we think that the posers on Instagram, which you can go rent a private jet facility, right? Like walk in and go, oh my gosh, this is great. We're going to take a private jet. Then you leave there, go get on your commercial flight, and then go show it landing, right? This idea that the facade that we're all buying is just not true, right? Like,
Yeah. Well,
what
but
time do you get up in the morning? I don't have to guess. I'm guessing it's early.
it's early.
It's early.
Yes. Yeah.
Uh,
But it's
my
it's
alarm goes off
early.
at 3:45.
That's early.
Why does it go off at 3:45? Because I want to beat people out of bed and I want to have the chance to show them that I'm going to put the work in.
Well, and yeah, I get up early because again, anybody that I've personally met that's done anything substantial gets up early. And so it's like it's not because I'm not saying get up early because I'm saying get up early. I'm just saying I've seen it. I've seen people that are very well accomplished and they get up early. So I'm
Yep.
just going to do that too. And early on, like if a machine is motivating for you or a jet's motivating, like still, frankly, I look at the private aircraft every time I'm in economy, in the back of the plane. Everybody thinks I'm always like business class. I'm like, no, bro, I'm still broke. I'm still in the back. And I'm looking out the window like, yeah, that citation over there doesn't look so bad. Like I wouldn't mind that. And if that's motivating for you, great. I think where people where what the disconnect is well, you can get this jet with this course or in 3 easy steps. It's like, no, no, no. You can get this jet. You can go get that jet. You can go get that fancy car, but don't be fooled into thinking it's going to be easy. It's not. And it's going to take a long time and it's going to take a lot of effort applied consistently. Like that is how it's done. That's the formula. Like years ago, I ran a 100 miles and everybody was like, how'd you train for that? And again, it's like a smart ass response, but it's true. I ran every day. That's it. Like I didn't have a training plan. I didn't have a coach. I didn't have this whole, oh, I'm going to do this day, this day, I'm going to scale up, scale down, whatever. I just ran every day and it worked just fine because again, that's the formula I've seen applied everywhere around me. And it's like, cool, I'll just run that same play.
Yeah. I think just naturally humans like to overcomplicate things and then try to find the shortcut.
We
And
want the shortcut.
and you can attest to this, and so can I, and everybody on this. Probably a ton of people listening to this too. Is it's always going to take longer than you think. It's always going to be a little bit harder than you probably anticipate. And I think like going back to what you had said when we first started, I think you said, what exactly did you say? Said something about being like naive when you started. I mean, I'm paraphrasing here, but I think you got to have a little bit of that to start. Because if you just knew how much effort, that's why a lot of people, when they, have a successful exit in their company, they're like, yeah, I don't want to do that again. So if you
Yeah.
just knew the amount of everything that it takes out of you to do it once successfully, then most people just would never want to do it or even think to try it.
Well, now they have one successful exit and then they become this like business guru that can
Guru.
do every business
Yeah,
ever.
yeah,
And it's
yeah.
like, okay, bro, you've successfully exited one business. Good for you. Congratulations. But now don't act like you know what the heck's going on in every category.
Yeah.
Um, but whenever I see someone like planning something or thinking things through, I always think just go, just go, just go. Like why now is not the right time? Why is now the right time? Why is 6 months going to be any better? Like, because I know it doesn't work that way. I know like you can't plan your way through it. You have to do your way through it. And so the longer you don't do, the further you are from whatever you want to do. It's
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's the smartest way of putting it,
No, I
but
know what you mean.
you get through motion, through action. It doesn't happen sitting around.
Yeah, you got to get through the stage of embarrassment. That's what I've always found is like most of the time you always want to start sooner. And first you got to get through the phase of being embarrassed and feeling like you're tripping over yourself. Like that's the stage you absolutely have to go through in order to get anywhere. And I think people really just need to be okay with that phase and endure through.
But I think it's more so just learning to live embarrassed. Like because
That's a great point.
I don't think it ever
You don't
goes
think it ever
away.
stops, yeah.
No, you look at like Elon Musk. It's not gone away for him. If it hasn't gone away for him, it's not going away for me.
No, I think some of his stuff is very self-inflicted, but I agree with you.
But still, like
But I
again,
agree. If he's still embarrassed today, then who are we to say that we're not going to be? Yeah, I think you bring up a good point there.
So one of the things that I've found to be true, and this is something like watching, you and I have been in some similar rooms where I'm like, okay, these people are like crazy successful. And then you get around those people where your spidey sense goes up and said like, bro, you're like 25 years old. You'd have 40 years of work experience if I added up everything you just told me.
uh-huh.
Uh, I think one of the things that I've picked up is that with speed gives you the opportunity to course correct faster, and you can move through that embarrassment cycle or those mistakes, and you have a chance of surviving, right? Well, like the faster and probably with Dirt World, I imagine there's been some iterations where you go, I think this is going to work, and then it's just a wall, and you go, well, seems like we're not making any headway here. We're going to pivot and have to go.
Well, and I think part of it too is like I don't have time to think about what people are saying or what people think of me because I'm
Mhm.
too busy doing. Like
Yeah.
I'm too busy in it. Like I'm working every day. I don't have time to pay attention to that. And so I think that's part of it too is like again through action you just don't have time for the worries or what if this, what if that, because you're too busy in it. You're too busy doing.
Hmm.
Yeah.
One thing
That's
that I want to talk to you about, Aaron, is like iteration cycles and doing. I mean, one thing that I've always wanted to chat with you about is, your journey, and same with mine. It's been iteration cycles, different chapters. We've killed projects. You guys have killed projects. Like one in particular that you guys recently came out and killed or sunsetted was like the BuildWitt jobs thing. And I've always been kind of curious to ask you about that, just because that's something that we were trying to do. Previously we were kind of going at it in like various ways. And I've always been kind of curious and think about how you guys test ideas, how you get to the point where you're sunsetting things because it's just not working. And I think a lot of people would like to kind of hear your guys' thought process around those things. And even I would too.
I have learned that a lot of businesses talk about innovation. Few businesses do anything with innovation. There's almost no innovation at a majority of businesses, I would say, because it's risky. You're wrong oftentimes. It's messy. It's chaotic. You look like an idiot while you're doing it. Um, but that's also where anything significant happens. And that's where the world actually changes and gets better. And I wish I could tell you, I wish I could give you this like drawn out, elegant answer on, oh, well, this is how you can safely test some things. And then here's how you know when to pivot so that you
Hmm.
can limit your damage, so on and so forth. Maybe there's a formula out there. We just didn't do that.
Hmm.
We tried stuff. like,
Hmm.
that was kind of it. Like
Yeah.
we tried stuff. I don't know what else to say about it. And some of that stuff worked and some of that stuff didn't.
Hmm.
And we I think the one thing we have learned is after you try stuff, you do at a certain point have to become more disciplined and focused. You
Hmm.
can't just indefinitely try stuff. And
Yeah.
so in the early innings, trying stuff is great. I think from a career standpoint, it's great. From business standpoint, it's great. Like when the risk isn't as success as substantial, like that's when you can iterate and
Hmm.
try a bunch of different things. But you are going to have to dedicate yourself to something if you want to be the best at something.
Yeah.
And frankly, it took us 8 years to figure that out. Like I'm young and everybody's like, wow, you've got it figured out. It's like, well, we've still been at this now for 8 years, which is a fair amount of time. Like that's not, we didn't start yesterday.
Hmm.
And just now we're getting focused. Like just now.
Yeah.
We've always been focused on an industry and on a problem. So we have had that going for us, but it's a big, complicated problem that no one has solved. And there's no way to solve it without trying a bunch of shit. And so
Hmm.
that's the best I have to say on the topic. And again, it's not that nice, tidy answer people are looking for, but that's the reality to actually innovating and trying and navigating uncharted waters is it's treacherous. Like
Yeah.
and you don't have to go in uncharted waters. I don't blame you. I know why most businesses don't do it because it sucks. But if you want to go do anything significant, you have to.
Hmm. Yeah. I guess that the reason why I was asking is because like in our world we're just constantly looking for signals, and like you'd mentioned, there's no perfect formula that says A is worth chasing and B is not. Sure, maybe you're like operating at scale, yes, you can probably test those things, A/B test, but for even like specifically for us, like those things are very hard to test. And it's you're either looking for certain signals that raise your conviction level to go all in and commit, or you're looking for other signals where you do have to kill ideas because it's not signaling any sort of outcome that you guys are looking for. And the reason why I was like mostly interested in asking you that question is because like many things, and specifically what you guys are doing today, is was there any combination of signals or talking to various owners that they were looking for like this really in-depth learning management evolution of what BuildWitt is to become, because this is BuildWitt 2.0 or whatever you want to talk about, label it as. But I've always found that to be interesting because much like us, like we were building something way different than payroll. We were building like a community and we wanted it to become sort of like a jobs platform, kind of like a LinkedIn for construction. But without that, you could say it was a failure, we sunsetted it, whatever it was, but that was the biggest opportunity for us to like find our groove, to actually work on something that was meaningful enough to go 150% at. So that's why I was always kind of curious to ask you about that, is because like when you look at our evolution, it's like, oh, okay, things are starting to make a little bit more sense now, where it's like you're starting to find the groove. And just by the nature of startups and everything that we do, it's just an experiment cycle where you eventually find the thing that becomes the thing.
Yeah, and I can only speak from my experience. We have a lot of brilliant people on the team, and it has been academic in some regards, but for me, like I wish I could say it's been academic. It hasn't been academic. Again, it's just been rooted in us trying and listening. And
Hmm.
a lot of times it's like not even data driven decision making. It's just like this is a gut feeling.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I think that's good enough. I think there's a lot of people out there that want to make this into some like risk-free exercise and that or sterile exercise, like we're in
Hmm.
a lab and oh, you can just try this experiment over here and this experiment over here, and then you'll have your findings and you can publish your paper, and then you can confidently dedicate yourself to plan A because that was the one that was proven to be without a doubt the one. It's like it doesn't work that way. That's
Yeah.
not real life. That's not business. That's not people. That's not how this works. Or at least it hasn't been for
Hmm.
us. And so, and again, it's not for anybody doing anything significant. Like going back to Elon, like he talks about blowing rockets up. Like they've had to blow rockets up to figure
Yeah.
out rockets. Like,
Yeah.
again, like that's at the highest level. So
Yeah.
to think that you're not gonna be in that category, like you don't have to operate with that within those parameters is crazy. I
Hmm.
just I think it's all rooted in doing. The more you can do, the more you can listen, and then the more you can focus. Once you have done enough, you've gathered enough data, you have listened, I think the better off you are.
I think the advantage that you have is you've been able to aggregate all of these learnings across job sites across the world. Like you've been to, I don't remember, how many countries have you been to now?
A lot,
A
like four
lot.
four continents this year.
So a hell of a lot more than probably Keith and I.
I don't know. I've been to 80 or 90. Been to a lot of countries.
90 countries?
Yeah.
Holy
When
smokes,
I,
that's a
when I got
lot.
sober, it was time to not stay at
Really?
yeah.
I did not know this part
Damn.
about you. Okay, this is a
Yeah.
whole other
Yeah.
conversation.
Wow. Yeah,
Interesting.
90 is no
Before I
joke.
got married, I used to stop working at Christmas and I would go travel and I wouldn't come home for like 5 or 6 weeks. You can
Dang.
travel on no money in most parts of the world.
Yeah.
Like a couple
Wow.
thousand, but I'd leave, I'd get a to and from, like I'd fly to Singapore and home from Singapore, and then I'd just bounce around Asia, and then I'd go to the Caribbean and bounce around the Caribbean. It was cool. It was part of finding who I wanted to be.
How good is that?
I did
Wow.
not know this part about
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yes.
Back on track though, Aaron,
Yeah.
you've been to a ton of countries.
Yeah.
I'd be kind of curious, like what are some things that just other countries that you've been to where they're just doing things way better than the US? I'm really curious to know. And you're probably, I hope your initial reaction isn't just like everything and then I gotta figure out where to go on that response, but
No, I just think in the United States, we suffer from thinking we're better than we are. And we're told we're the best and we believe it. And then you leave and you're like, well, wait a minute, we're not the best. And the more I've left, the more that's become apparent to me. And I used to return to the States and fly into an American airport and be relieved. And now I'm sad. And and it makes me more sad than I'm sad. Like I'm pissed off that I'm sad. Um, because it's just like such a contrast. Like even this year, I remember I go from Jakarta, this beautiful airport, one of the prettiest airports I've ever been in, of all places in Jakarta in Indonesia. And I thought like Indonesia, like, come on, the place is going to be held together with sticks. And I'm in this airport that's like unbelievable. And then I fly into Chicago O'Hare and I'm just like,
It's a dump.
oh, it is. Yes, like
It hasn't been touched in 30 years.
yeah, and not that it's like it's not a one-to-one. I'm not dumb enough to be like, well, an airport is indicative of a whole country's geography or infrastructure, so on and so forth. But I just think it's the point I'm trying to make is that it's important for us as Americans to acknowledge that we're not the best at everything. That's okay. Let's go learn from others and be the best. Like we can be the best. We should be the best in the world, but we're not. So let's go learn from others, implement that here, and be a whole lot better off for it is the ultimate point. So when it comes to infrastructure building, I don't think you can beat Europe. Like on average, Western Europe is pretty top notch. And I think there's a lot to learn. And I think a lot of that's rooted in their workforce. It's aged before ours. They have a much older population, so they've had to do more with less. They've had to become a lot more efficient, and with their space, with their resources, with their human capital, and the result is some pretty cool infrastructure and means and methods.
What's one thing that you would import to the US based on any of your learnings across
Oh,
various job sites?
European windows, dude.
Yeah.
European
Like the
windows.
4-6-way window idea.
Yeah. Our windows suck here. And you go to Europe and you open this up, you're like, damn, it opens up both ways. How good is
And it
this?
slides up and down
Yeah,
and
they're
it's
just
in and out.
oh, they're just built so well. You're like, yeah, I could get behind this. I just talked with my friend Nick at NS Builders. You might know
Oh
him.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, he's building a house with imported European windows. I'm like, this is awesome. He's like, I know. So that's I don't know. It's a stupid answer, but that's what my
I
mind
love
goes
it.
to.
The one thing that I love about you is your analogies. You get fired up and you're like, I thought I was arriving at the airport, it's gonna be built by sticks.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, as like a
No,
ignorant
I get it.
American,
I
you
get
kind of
it.
you just think we're or when I tell people the Middle East, they're like, ooh, oh, is that scary? It's like, no. LA is scary. Oakland is scary. Portland is scary. St. Louis is scary. But over there, I'm never scared. I'm
Yeah.
not.
What's next for BuildWitt, Aaron? I know you guys
Making
just wrapped up your Dirt World, which I'm kicking myself over, and you're more than welcome to give me shit all day for it. I'm already looking at my next year tickets.
you missed
Um,
out.
I
You
know I
missed
missed out.
out.
I am well
Yeah.
aware that I missed out.
Well,
So just you can twist the knife.
no,
Feel free.
I'm where after year three, I'm in like I'm in the told you so camp. Like I told you so, and I'm not
I
selling
get
this
it.
anymore. Like you get your tickets, we're gonna sell out, and if you didn't get them, like sorry, tough shit. I'm sick of selling the thing. Um, no, I'm being a drive turkey, but we have two focuses, and I was told that's not a friendly term nowadays, but I've always thrown it around since as a teenager. Like it's just kind of a dumb
We're
phrase.
keeping it in the episode. So
Apparently, it's something you can't say anymore. I don't know, but we have two focuses. One, eliminating churn. We need to focus on customer retention and user retention within the training product, and we want to wow. And so create as many opportunities as possible with those that we interact with, where they're thinking, "Wow, that was great." So that's all we need to do next year is reduce churn, eliminate churn, wow our customers, those we interact with, and we're going to end up with a great business as a result.
Yeah, I'm excited for this evolution for you guys. And I'm excited to see what you guys do. What are some of the main recaps around the Dirt World Summit for this year? Any like key takeaways that you or learnings that was different this year versus the last? I'm sure you guys learned a lot from the previous year.
My biggest lesson was something you've already said, is that things just take longer than you think they're going to take. And so the first year was really good. It got us to the second year. The second year was really good. It got us to this year. But this year was the first year where everybody was like, oh, I get it. Like, I see what's going on here. We're all in this together.
Hmm.
Like, everybody's on the same team. And I'm like, yes, exactly. We're all
Welcome
on
to
the
the
same.
room.
Yes, like we're all here to do this together, and we're all here to get better together. And the future is on us. And it was like the first time I just, like, as a group, kind of saw that light bulb moment for everybody, like, wait a minute, there's something bigger here, and I'm a part of it, and this is pretty damn cool. And
Hmm.
it just took time to get there. And so I'm really excited to build upon that. I think we are building something special. I think we're creating a movement to build the dirt world's next generation. And it's not our movement, it's the dirt world's movement. That's why we've called it Dirt World, not BuildWitt, is because it's not us. We're just the ones to facilitate it, but it's the industry that's going to go out and do it. And it's really exciting.
You had some really awesome headliners this year. You had James Clear, you had the who's the bananas guy? Savannah Bananas guy?
We have James Clear, Jesse Cole, Tim
Yeah, I mean
Grover.
you had
Like,
a
it was a unreal lineup. But you
yeah.
know what? The feedback that I heard the most about was that we made everybody sit at different tables the second day. So we gave everybody a number. Here's the table you're
Mm,
sitting at. You're not going to be with your friends. No
mm,
friends. And then we facilitated a conversation for an hour by asking them different questions and telling them to discuss. That was everybody's, on average, their favorite thing about it, was
that's
because
awesome.
they found out through those conversations and meeting other people that, like, wait a minute, I'm not alone here. Like, everybody again is kind of where I'm at, which is
Hmm.
really cool. And that's, we can bring in all these big time people, which is great. That's valuable. But the value is not the individuals on stage, it's the individuals in the audience. Like,
Yeah.
the audience is the most important. They're the most important people
It's yeah,
there.
it's the
And if,
phone number of the guy you shared that table with that can help
yeah,
solve that problem together.
Yeah.
yeah, correct. And if we can build that community, then you build that movement, then you
Yep.
create, substantial momentum. And I think that's what other industry events have been missing. And now that
Hmm.
people are finding it here, it's like, oh, I didn't know I needed this, but I needed this.
Yeah.
And and now it's, I think, registering.
I've always loved those light bulb moments where you've like developed a relationship with somebody through Instagram, LinkedIn, whatever it is, and you finally get the opportunity to meet them in person too. It just makes the
Yes.
whole entire event worth it at that point.
Yes.
Um, Aaron, we got typically when we wrap up our episode, we do our fast five. I only have four for you today, so it's gonna be a fast four. But these are four questions. You got to answer them in a sentence or less, or you can use an Aaron analogy, whatever works.
Sure.
Um, Number one, you get one billboard outside of every job site in America. What does it say?
Something along the lines of, this is how the world works. Because it is. That's what keeps the world moving. It's not technology, it's people building stuff.
Touche. Two, what's a hill you would die on that most people in construction would fight you over?
Mm, First thing that comes to mind is alcohol is overrated.
I 100% agree with that. Keith would obviously agree. I don't want to speak for you, Keith, but I think it's played out that
I
you
do concur.
Uh-huh.
Three, your one message to the next generation would be
Seek to learn, ask questions, be curious, keep your head down. Um, a lot of people are like, "Do you struggle with the previous generation?" I'm like, "No, I don't, because I just ask them questions. genuine questions and they give me genuine answers. It's not that hard.
Number 4. We ask it on every episode. What does the phrase "bred to build" mean to you?
Um, my mind goes first. It's like you've got it or you don't. You know if you're supposed to be, you know if you're a builder or
Mhm.
not. And if you're a builder, you've got to build,
Mhm.
or else you're gonna go crazy.
Boom. Had a ton of fun, man. Thanks for coming on. Where can people find and connect with you?
Typically just my name on social media, Aaron, Aaron Witt, WITT, and then our business, BuildWitt, BuildWitt.com.
And tune into Dirt Talk. It's Dirt Talk, not Dirty Talk. Don't get that confused when you're going on Spotify or Apple Podcasts.
Dirt Talk Podcasts. It was an oversight, an SEO oversight, but we're in it now.
I like it, man. Thanks for coming on, Aaron.
Yep. Thanks for having me.
Had no need to fight tonight.